Crassus's money, Pompey's military clout, and Caesar's popular touch soon made the triumvirate the dominant political force in the Roman world, known to its enemies as the three-headed monster. But the Senate's power was not totally extinguished. It insisted that Caesar's co-consul would be one of their own. His name was Bibulus.
Caesar realized that he was on a hiding to nothing in the Senate, and so he does something which hasn't been done for a very long time. It's legal, but it's not had a recent precedent. He goes over the head of the Senate directly to the public assemblies and introduces his laws there. Now, this leads, of course, to deep resentment on the part of the conservatives, who attempt by hook and crook to block the meetings, obstruct the meetings that are taking place. And this is the context in which Caesar's fellow consul Bibulus, who is one of his leading opponents, in a riotous scene has a bucket of dung emptied over his head.
Although Caesar's consulship generated a lot of controversy, he was rewarded with an incredibly lucrative job, a 5-year command in Gaul. This 5-year posting turned into a 9-year campaign, during which Caesar would make his name as a brilliant general. Caesar the consul became Caesar the conqueror.
What they achieve is the conquest of a greater expanse of territory than has ever been conquered before by Romans. It's a huge conquest, essentially the extent of modern France. What it really achieves as far as Caesar is concerned is that it gives him status, though. I mean, that's why he does this. Romans have enormous respect for military achievement, and nobody is ever going to have the respect of Romans that Caesar is determined to achieve if they don't have some great military achievement behind them.
Caesar's ambition was boundless. Not content with conquering Gaul, he wanted more. Northern Italy, modern-day Switzerland, Germany, Belgium, and even Britain were all in his sights. Caesar's first campaign was against the tribes of Germany on the Rhine between 58 and 55 BC. He annihilated them. His victories were celebrated in Rome. Command of an army came naturally to Caesar. He knew the names of all the centurions in the front line of battle. His physical presence in the thick of fighting inspired total confidence, and it was said the sight of his red cloak was the equivalent of at least another legion.
His soldiers love him, and it's partly because he's a brilliant motivator. He's a great speaker and a great convincer of people, exhorter of people. But he also does the thing that I guess all generals have to do, successful generals have to do, which is that he shares their toils and their dangers. He doesn't sort of stand 2 miles back from the line or anything. He's there amongst them as these battles take place. So as a consequence, he creates an army which will do anything for him.
But Caesar's savagery towards the German tribes caused scandal in Rome. In the Senate, speeches were made condemning his actions, tarnishing his glowing reputation.
He's utterly, utterly ruthless in his determination to be the greatest Roman. Nothing will stand in his way, and not the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Gauls, certainly. That's an acceptable cost as far as he's concerned.
Caesar's brutality failed to quell the tribes of Gaul. It inflamed them, and for the first time in their history, they united under one supreme chieftain, Vercingetorix. Steeled by his hatred of Caesar, Vercingetorix triumphed over Caesar at the siege of Gergovia in the Loire Valley. But victory was short-lived. Caesar's retaliation was swift and brutal.
There's one example which Caesar gives himself. It's the capture of a Gallic town called Avaricum, and these are Caesar's own figures. He says that out of a population of 40,000, 800 survived. And he says that the Roman soldiers spared not the elderly, not women, not infantibus, not small children. This is his own account.
A lesser man than Vercingetorix might have crumbled, but the Gauls reorganized and settled into a war of attrition. Could they survive until the end of Caesar's governorship? The final conflict lay ahead. The future of Gaul and Caesar hung in the balance. Caesar's 9-year campaign against the Gauls ended in 51 BC. Under their chieftain, Vercingetorix, 250,000 Gauls assembled for battle at Elysia, in what is now central France. Caesar's army numbered just 70,000. For 2 days, the Gauls successfully employed their tactics, even breaching the inner line of the Roman defenses. Caesar was enraged, and taking personal command, charged forward with his men, while sending another contingent to attack the Gauls from the rear. The sight of Caesar's red cloak made even the bravest of the Gauls falter. As they fled, the Romans followed, killing all in their path. The Gauls were crushed. Vercingetorix surrendered, sacrificing himself for his people. But Caesar showed no mercy. Vercingetorix languished in prison for 6 years, before being dragged through Rome behind Caesar's chariot and publicly strangled to death.
The ancients reckoned that they came up with a figure that 1,192,000 Gauls died in this war. That's genocide by any calculation, I think. And he does this for his own self-promotion. He does this to increase his status in Rome, to improve his political position. Romans were quite relaxed about non-Romans getting killed. But that even made Romans sit up and think a little. That was such carnage.
Caesar marked the end of the war with another act of brutal savagery. He ordered that the hands of 1 in 10 Gauls be cut off. He wanted the survivors to be visible reminders of the power of Rome. For Caesar, killing was not enough. The conquest of Gaul had done more than increase the size of the Roman Republic. It had also dramatically enhanced Caesar's reputation. Not only had his popularity with the Roman people exploded, he was also the commander of a massive and loyal army. Caesar knew he now had the power to seize Rome by force. It was exactly what his enemies had dreaded. On the banks of the river Rubicon, which divided Gaul from Italy, Caesar took the biggest gamble of his life. For a returning general to march into Rome with his army was an act punishable by death. But he knew his political enemies hated him enough to kill him anyway. What Caesar did next has become the stuff of legend.